Let's learn about Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt was always taking action. As a boy, he worked hard to make himself healthy. As president, he worked to make the country stronger. He also made it a better place for all Americans to live. He was known as a strong leader. He was the 26th president. He served from 1901 to 1909. Theodore Roosevelt was born in 1858 in New York. As a child, he had very bad asthma. Sometimes he even had to go to the hospital. Theodore Roosevelt exercised a lot, however. He also spent a lot of time outdoors. He became stronger. This helped him overcome his illness. His family nicknamed him TD. He spent a lot of his childhood in this house in New York City. As a child, TD went mountain climbing and tried many sports. By the time he was in his 20s, he was strong and healthy. He loved to go hiking. He drew pictures of wildlife he saw. When Theodore Roosevelt grew up, he worked in politics. At age 23, he was elected to New York state government. There, Roosevelt worked hard making laws that helped people. Yet he also made time for outdoor adventure. He took many trips to North Dakota. There, he hunted, rode horses, and raised cattle. He hunted buffalo and other animals in North Dakota. In 1898, the United States went to war against Spain. Roosevelt led soldiers in the war. He and his soldiers were called the Rough Riders. The Rough Riders won important battles. Roosevelt led the Rough Riders into battle for control over Cuba. The Americans won the Spanish-American War. American newspapers had stories about the Rough Riders. This made Roosevelt a famous war hero. After the war, Roosevelt went back to politics. In 1900, William McKinley was elected president. Roosevelt was his vice president. Sadly, McKinley was shot and killed a few months later. This meant that Roosevelt would be the new president. Roosevelt was 42 years old when he became president. He was the youngest president in history. Roosevelt was rich, yet he wanted to help ordinary Americans. As president, he created laws that made businesses treat workers fairly. He also set aside large areas of forest as parkland. That way, all Americans could enjoy nature. Roosevelt also created laws that made food safer for people to eat. This is a piece of land that Roosevelt helped protect called Crater Lake in Oregon. Roosevelt played a big role in the world as well. In 1905, he helped end a war between Russia and Japan. A year later, he had workers begin digging the Panama Canal. This would be a shortcut for ships between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. The workers digging the Panama Canal are right here. Roosevelt made sure that the United States had a strong navy. He knew the navy would be even stronger when ships could use the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal is located on a narrow strip of land that connects North and South America. Roosevelt kept helping people even after he left office. He continued to be a leader in politics. People listened to his ideas. Today, we still see his ideas in action. Roosevelt's face is carved into Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. The other presidents shown in this sculpture are George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln. This national park in North Dakota is named after Roosevelt. Today, millions of people visit the parklands Roosevelt helped protect. About 14,000 ships cross the Panama Canal each year. Here's a timeline of major events from Theodore Roosevelt's life. He was born in 1858 in New York City. Here are some facts and quotes. Oops, about to run out of time. We must dare to be great. The only man who makes no mistakes is the man who never does anything. We'll go ahead and stop the book there. Theodore Roosevelt was a great man.